We got good news and we got bad news. The good news is he more than likely is not done for the year, at least what we know right now. The bad news is he's going to be out for an extended period of time. And, Mike, we're talking about Max Fried. You came in yesterday, fresh off the F1 race, and you said, I'm concerned about Max Fried. And I went, come on. Well, I guess we should be concerned about Max Fried.
And the only reason, a bunch of Braves fans yesterday on the text line, on the Twitter, saying, hey, man, you're being like a worry wart. What's the biggie? I didn't like, everything was very vague. And when things are vague and there's no specifics and Snicker is just kind of slow rolling stuff. And again, I'm not saying they're trying to put one by you. It's just, they're evaluating the situation, but it didn't sound good. And now we find out that, there could be a longer delay in getting him back on the field. When they say he's got to go back to square one for the spring training process, that's an eye-opener, man. For me, at least. I'm a little nervous.
So the MRI did not create any concern about possibly needing a second Tommy John surgery. Now, that's the good news. But to Mike's point, now you're talking about rebuilding the arm strength. I know some people think spring training is whack, but it's specifically pretty much for pitching. Right. Okay? It's for guys to build up their arms, build up the arm strength. Yeah, guys want to get some swings in, but at the end of the day, you really want to take care of your pitching staff, which is why early on in the season, you don't see guys throwing 7, 8, 9 innings. You rarely see that to begin with. But that is what Max Fried is going to have to go back through now for him to get back to a point where they feel comfortable with him pitching, Mike. And what kind of strain does this put on the pitching staff? Because tonight it's the Red Sox, but it's bigger than that, guys. Again, you've got a nice little cushion right now in this division, but the one thing that could derail this team is not having enough pitching, specifically starting pitching.
Right. For those who don't remember, Max Fried had a Tommy John surgery back in 2015. Kyle Wright is already behind the 8 ball with his season. Ian Anderson has Tommy John surgery. Dylan Dodd, by the way, because of how he was optioned back, they can't bring him back just yet. So I think they might want to bring Dylan Dodd and keep him on a team.
Yep.
I think that's going to have to be more part of it. And then you get into, the good things. The good news is Bryce Elder's doing really well. And Charlie Morton seems like he's got the form from 2 years ago. But see, this is why I'm always, every offseason, that's why when Charlie Morton was spent, I just thought we could have spent more money on a younger guy. Morton's doing better, Carl, but we're going to need more pitching. And you may have to do something at the trade deadline. Good news is you're still in first place. You're kicking the Mets' butt. But, and then, hey, maybe, as we said the other day, maybe Michael Soroka, who really nobody seems to have a handle on when he's coming back. Maybe Soroka can be the guy that can come to the rescue on this one.
Yeah, there's still no timetable on his return, though, as we talked about with Grant McCauley. He will join us later in the show today. It's Dukes and Bell Sports Radio 92.9 The Game. Follow us, guys. He's Mike Bell, ATL. I may put him up. See Dukes, the radio show. Dukes and Bell 92.9. Follow this radio station at 92.9 The Game. Stay up on everything that's going on. Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and you can watch the show on Twitch at ATL 929 The Game and on YouTube at 929 The Game. This is going to put a little bit of a strain on that starting rotation. What it's going to look like, Fried allowed 8 hits, 7 runs, 5 were earned over 6 innings versus the O's on Friday. And you just felt like, Big Bo, I'm looking at you just felt like, all right, maybe something's going on. This don't look right. It doesn't feel right. And so then he underwent an MRI on Monday afternoon and had forearm discomfort, which sometimes can be associated with an elbow injury. So that's how it's being described, and that's why people were freaking out. Oh, no, It might be another Tommy John. But the images created no concern about his elbow. So, again, 29 years old, he's going to be out, guys. This 15-day IL thing, he's going to be out longer than that. This could be a month, maybe 2. I don't want to put a timetable on it, Mike, but we've got to find a way to get through this without arguably our number one ace.
Right. And when they talk about having to kind of go back, as you mentioned, to some of the steps you do in spring training, that's at least 4 weeks, right? I mean, you do the math. So what are you going to do? Do you have to go trade? Not necessarily. We talked about Bryce Elder's doing well, Morton's doing well, but you're starting to get a little thin, And then we've talked about Dylan Dodd. I like him more than Schuster. I think he's more ready than Schuster. But you still might need some more guys. Get some new guys. I think we're going to have to get more guys this year.
We need more guys.
No, because we thought maybe Anderson could come back and get back into the rotation, or maybe 6-man at best. He's gone. Don't have that option. And then we talked about unfortunately Kyle Wright from 20 wins. I don't know how many wins is Kyle Wright going to have this year. Because he's going to be MIA for a while.
Yeah. Dodd gave it 3 runs or fewer in 2 of the 3 starts made this year. So he's been good. But to Mike's point, I think you got to make a decision now. Alex Anthopoulos trying to find out where he wants to go with his pitching staff. And, of course, Snit basically going to be relying on those 3 guys, man. The 3 you talked about, Strider, Elder, and Morton.
Because there is no timetable right now, at least 3 days ago, for Kyle Wright coming back from his shoulder strain. We just said there's really no timetable. It's kind of nebulous for Max. So all of a sudden, we got some issues, man. We got trouble in River City. So,
Anybody in the market for a prospect shortstop, I wonder?
Come on now.
See, now
Wait a minute.
If we traded Vaughn Grissom for Shohei Ohtani,
stop it.
and then we turn around and everybody, you know what you'd pay for your season tickets? Play 3 times that, and then we'll sign Shohei Ohtani next year. What a perfect trade. Oh, come on.
Now,
so this is where people go crazy on this step. But one thing for certain, you may have to do something before the trade deadline if you start to wobble in the standings, which I'm not saying you're going to, but you don't have the starting pitching right now.
If you are wondering about Vaughn Grissom, the irony that Bo brings that up is Ron Washington came out and was talking about Vaughn Grissom's demotion. And basically, he said the same thing that I said yesterday. He's not ready. Quote, he's young. He's been in pro ball, 2.5 years? This is Wash. He got quite an experience up here. Nothing to feel bad about. You can see sometimes the game moves a little too fast. He's trying to learn at the biggest level. We don't have time for that. Guys, I said this. We're chasing a World Series. You're not breaking guys in and having them cost you potential games with errors because you feel good about, he'll be good one day. This is what AAA is for. It's what AA is for. This is the learning experience. Wash is right. And it's not mean-spirited, Mike. He's just telling the truth.
We're just going through some things.
I mean, now again, when he hits the ball over the green monster, everybody says, this kid's ready to rock, and as we've said a million times, there was a guy named Mickey Mantle, and he wore 6 when he first came up, and they sent him back down, he wore 7. So sometimes it takes a minute. In this case, you see the skills, he can bat, and Ron just broke it down. He's still not 100% ready to rock. But, this is but I think Braves fans, they overreact and think this immediately means somehow he's trade bait. That's not the way it's going to play. Relax. Right? Relax.
Yeah,
right?
I was going to say, right, yeah. We're not trading him, right? Bo's throwing it out there. Big Bo's throwing it out there like, anybody want a shortstop? I'm not willing to trade Vaughn Grissom, but I do think, if you have a pitcher in mind or that you feel like we need to shore up this starting rotation and I don't want to wait till the trade deadline, I'm sure they have some targets, Mike. What's it going to cost you? Hopefully they find that right stock. AA's done this before. He's found that rising stock that hasn't peaked yet, that is not overpriced, and then he gets him, Soler, and he balls out, and all of a sudden now you're able to move on from him after he helps your team. That may be the kind of guy that they go after, Mike. This may not be a big move if, in fact, they do address it that way.
Yeah, and, sometimes there's been some guys like, was it Dallas Keuchel they picked? There's other dudes that they've had the ability to go find before the trade deadline, and some of these guys, you may have to go do that. Right now, though, it's certainly, let's be honest, back in March, as everything looked great, Max Fried was rolling through spring training. The idea that I wasn't going to have Kyle Wright and Max Fried in May, well, that's a bit daunting. That's over 35 wins right there we're talking about.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And quality starts.
Tonight it's Morton, guys. 7-1 in his career against Boston. So he'll be on the hill. Pivetta is going to go for the Boston Red Sox tonight. He's 6-3 in his career against the Braves. But the bottom line is, the good news is we have a really good bullpen. And the thing is, I'm curious now how Snit is going to manage this bullpen, Mike, when these 3 guys are not starting. You need these 3 guys to be really good. I'm talking about Elder, Morton, and Strider. When they're not starting, you don't want to tax the bullpen. And I think that's going to be the big thing now when you start talking about trusting your starters and how far you want to go in the bullpen and how he uses guys. I mean, you're going to see some of these crazy things we've seen because Snit may be hesitant to overuse guys knowing, hey, I got to manage this a little bit differently, knowing I really only have 3 starters I can count on.
So now we'll see where they feel who is and the minors can make that move. We've already talked about Dylan Dodd. Maybe Schuster gets another crack at it, perhaps. But again, Carl, you don't want to be in the situation. You just said the bullpen's been great, but you don't want to have these guys everybody going 4 innings. You want to see these guys get more quality starts. So now we'll see how they handle it. And hopefully, and I know that, I mentioned it earlier, everybody likes and asks us all the time, because everybody likes Michael Soroka. I've gotten the impression that if that ever happens, it's gravy. I just don't consider the Soroka returning to the show anything more than a 20-1 shot, if I'm honest. I just don't see it.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to be mean-spirited. It just seems like it's kind of not getting traction in Gwinnett.
And well, he tore his Achilles August 3rd, 2020. It's 2023. Now, we always talk about these Achilles injuries. Usually it's a year to get beyond it. And then pitching's just a different animal. You're just not running in a straight line, right? It's pitching off the mound and there's a lot that goes into this. But, Mike, that's when he tore his Achilles, 2020. So if he doesn't come back at some point this season, then it's probably not going to happen for Mike Soroka.
I mean, like I said, you're wishing for it, you're hoping for it, but it just every day he's not up at the show. It seems like the odds are getting longer.